In Bob's Century tonight, we hear from Ron Silver, who was a miner for 40 years.
Police and striking miners clash in some of the worst industrial unrest seen this century. The dispute centres on government plans to streamline the coal industry by cutting output by 4 million tonnes a year and closing 20 uneconomic pits. A defiant Arthur Scargill refuses to get round the negotiating table unless he receives assurances that there will be no further closures or job losses. Coal Board Chairman Ian McGregor warns that a prolonged stoppage could accelerate closures. In Lancashire and Nottinghamshire, resistance to go on strike without an official ballot leads to the formation of the flying pickets, mainly from Yorkshire, and violent clashes with riot police. A hard core of miners stick it out to the bitter end, but more and more gradually trickle back to work. The strike doesn't officially end until the following May, more than a year later. When the coal industry was nationalised in 1947, 62 collieries in Lancashire were producing coal. By January 1986, just 6 were left. Today, they've all gone, and the divisions the strikes caused in many mining communities still remain unhealed. Ron, you were 16 when you first went down the mine. Did you have any choice in the matter?
I had a choice. I could have taken another job. But at the time in 1952, the mining industry looked pretty strong. There was heavy recruitment programmes, and I was the eldest of a family of 8, so we wanted the brass, if you like. So I decided to go to the local pit and get myself a job.
What were your first memories of it? Because it must be, to say the least, very different from anything else.
Of course, my father wasn't, oh, don't go to the pits were a bit sort of down. He said, don't bother with the pits. But my mother and my grandfather had been in the pits, and they said, go. And I went, and initially we were training, that was good. And then when we got underground, first of all, you have the apprehension about the danger. But it wasn't the danger that I sort of mastered the danger aspect of it, but it was the conditions that I first found a bit difficult. And I didn't think during those first weeks that I'd stick it.
How bad were the conditions?
Well, when we started at the pit bottoms, and it was wet. Very, very wet and very, very cold. And we used to get old railway jackets from Darlington Street in Wigan, that ex-army place.
Right.
And then you had to have oilskins over the top of that. And then you'd change the oilskins halfway through, well, what they call snap time, halfway through the shift. And we'd get another oilskin because it got through, you see.
It can't be like working on a factory floor. You must have to have comradeship down there, mustn't you?
Yes, it is really. You can't explain it really outside. It's very difficult. But people do work together. You do get together, and you know, I mean, all your education really comes from underground. When you was working, that was just your job. And you knew everything about everybody else, and there was this good feeling that came. And certainly the danger aspect forces you together. It forges you together, and you become... it's a funny sort of relationship. Not say friends, because you're sort of as sort of belligerent with each other as anyone else.
Yeah.
But there was that
sticking
togetherness
yeah.
that came through.
What about the big strike in 1984?
It was a difficult strike. It was a bad strike.
It was a violent strike.
Violence. We didn't. I must be fair. We didn't have the violence with our people at Parkside. We had odd instances, but we didn't have the violence with those
Most
people.
of it was in Yorkshire and down in the Midlands,
Yorkshire, or when Yorkshire people came to us,
yeah.
They were away from home, they would do things. But our people, I mean, they usually said our people are pickets, that was. They said to us, look, when this is finished, we have a pit, we want a pit to come back to. And that's what they did. The main bitterness was they'd done 12 months without wages.
Yeah.
Some of those people haven't repaid their debts now.
Yeah, I'm sure. If you had your time all over again, but starting now and there were mines, would you go down now at the age of 16?
Yeah. But I like pits, and people say some of my greatest pleasure has been underground. It sounds perhaps silly that, in dust and smoke and rough conditions, But it was me, I liked it. The best thing that happened to me, and everything I got, and all that, I owed the National Coal Board, if you like.
Ron, you like the pits. I've liked hearing about them from you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
That was Bob's Century this week. There'll be a different subject at the same time next Thursday.
Yes, great memories there from the Parkside pit.